All right, this is going to be a little different from my other videos. This is more off the cuff, and just want to kind of give an honest perspective or an honest thought on approaching 40 and myself, and for you that are 40 and over, or maybe you're approaching 40 like myself. 2 years ago, I was in the absolute worst shape of my life. Not even just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, emotional, spiritual standpoint. I was just really at my lowest of the low. And if I'm being honest, I think a lot of it had to deal with the fact because I was approaching 40 and I was 36 at the time. And I was 37 and 36. And I just thought that I would have been so much further ahead than I was. I thought I would have been married. I thought that I would have been in great shape. I thought that, my career would have been different. I thought I was going to make it to the NBA out of college. That didn't work. And next thing you know, I started a fitness company. And then all of a sudden, I'm public speaking and I'm coaching people around the world, and started a podcast. And I just would have thought that at that point it would have blew up, and my status and my footprint on the world would have been a lot bigger than what I thought it was at that point. And maybe you're in a place like that right now where you feel, 40 years old, or you're approaching 40, you feel like you should be further ahead, or maybe your business should be bigger, or maybe, you should be married, or maybe your family should be a lot closer or tighter. Maybe there's relationships you thought would have been repaired by now, but they aren't. Maybe you're not in the best health. Maybe you're a little overweight. Maybe you're heavier. Maybe you could lose 15, 30, 40, 50 pounds, whatever the case is. Maybe you would have thought you would have quit your job by now to start that business, or to start that dream, or to start that podcast, or write that book, or start that YouTube channel. Whatever it is, maybe you're at that place right now at the time of watching this video. And I want to say that it's not a coincidence that you're watching this. It's not. And it's also not a coincidence I'm speaking this after a run. And it's interesting. One of the reasons why I love and hate running is because it is so symbolic to where I am at my age, approaching 40 years old. And this is kind of what I want to give to you. The idea that I had in my head 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, of where I was supposed to be by now, the man I thought I would be, the career I would have, the impact I would have, the family that I would have, my purpose in life, I have to let that die. And as I've grown in my faith journey, as a believer, as a man of God, as a person of faith, living a life of faith really is about denying yourself in submission every single day. And as a man, we're not really taught to let go. We're not really taught to submit. We're not really taught to quit or give up, because that's weak, or that's not what a man does. A man doesn't quit. A man keeps going until they overcome. And it's glorified in movies, it's glorified in pop culture that you don't quit. You gotta hustle, you gotta hustle. But what I've learned now is that's all lies. It's all full of shit. There is some truth to it. But the one thing that I really hold on to now, and I want to give to you, is that life is seasonal. And every season provides different nurture. And some season is a season where you have to plant seeds, and you gotta tend to your garden. You gotta tend to your crops. You gotta tend to your farm. Some seasons are a season of reaping. You're reaping the rewards and the benefits of your labor, and you're going on vacations, and you're taking trips, and you're doing things, enjoying everything that you built and accomplished, right? It's a season of just, letting your hair down and just having fun. And then there's seasons where, things are a little tight, and things are a little uncertain, and you're going through shifts, and you're going through changes, and you're going through transitions and pivots, and there's uncertainty, Your foundation's a little shaky, relationships are a little off, people are fading in and out, some people that are unexpectedly coming in, old habits that you thought you got rid of are starting to creep back in. And then there's seasons of silence. There's seasons where you're kind of isolated and you're not around people. You're kind of to yourself more. You're getting more introspective. You're questioning things. You're reevaluating things. And all this goes on and forever. But there's something about turning 40 that that I didn't have when I turned 30 or 35. It's something about 40 where I feel like it's a line in the sand that we draw, and where it's like there are things intuitively that that I know that I need to let go of and I have to get rid of. There are ways of being, there are ways of thinking, there are ways of pursuing that are no longer serving me. And this is really the deeper message I want to connect with you on this. There are certain things that you do that served you and protected you in a previous season, a previous decade, a previous year, where you needed to hustle, you needed to grind, you needed to be standoffish, you needed to be safe, you needed to be defensive, because it kept you safe, it kept you secure, it kept you certain, it kept things being normal. But now you're in a season where the things that used to keep you safe are now killing you. And the ways that you used to go about life are now causing you harm. You're gaining weight, your confidence is shot, you're indecisive, you're double-minded. Relationships don't really seem solid. You don't really feel like you're living purpose right now, or you're living purposeful. You're questioning, like, why, what am I doing? And this isn't me, and I don't feel aligned or connected to what I'm doing. I want to say that if that's where you are right now, that is probably the best place to be. And I don't want to sugarcoat it, and I don't want to act like your feelings aren't valid, or your perspective of what you're going through isn't okay or isn't human, because it is. But the fact that you're aware that this is how you feel and you're aware that this is where you're at is a good thing, because there's parts of you that has to die. When a diamond is being made, it has to be forged in fire. It can't be what it's designed to be unless parts of it is burnt off. And I believe God leads us to wilderness seasons, leads us to pivotal points in our life, not as punishment, not as neglect, not as ways of trying to, bring you to your knees so you can acknowledge him, right? He doesn't need you to do anything. He wants to do things with you. He wants to do life with you. He wants to build the business with you. He wants to build the relationship with you. He wants to get healthy with you. He wants to be with you. He wants to be as involved in your life and more than you know. But there are ideas, there are belief systems, there are things that you have right now that I've had that are getting in the way of him doing life with you. And that identity that you've used to serve and to protect you for so long has got to go. And so there's something about this age of 40 that I'm approaching, and maybe you're at, or you've surpassed. Maybe you're 41, you're 45, you're 50. There's something about this age where I feel like this is the refining, right? This is the refinement of recreating your identity and returning to who you always have been, right? This isn't changing who you are, it's returning to who you are naturally at your core, before society and life and goals and achievement got in the way. And so as I was going on this run, I was just thinking about, how much I did not want to go on this run today, and how much I really don't want to go on any of the runs that I go on. But when I'm done, I'm so grateful that I did. I'm so grateful that I denied how I felt, my true feelings of not wanting to go, and my body is sore, my legs are sore, it's like everything is sore, but I did it anyway. I allowed myself to be refined in this moment, to not let my emotions or my past or my insecurities get in the way of progress. And I just feel like when it's not too late to refine yourself. It's not too late to redefine yourself. It's not too late to have boundaries, to have standards, to change your business, to get rid of the business, to start something new, to quit your job, and to build something that you've always had in your heart. But insecurities and life and everything has put that down, and you suppressed who you really are to protect yourself from the world. It's okay to pivot and change and to transform and to evolve into someone in the next 40 years of your life that's going to supersede who you've been the previous 40. So if you're watching this right now and this is resonating with you, just know right here is where you're supposed to be. This place where your feet are is where you're supposed to be. And maybe we put too much time as men forward focusing and thinking about the next move in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. We're so far in the future that we're robbing ourselves of the present. We're robbing ourselves of peace. We're robbing ourselves of being content, because the sweet spot of life to me is the desire to evolve and to transform and to grow, but also the complete contentment of where we are at right now. So as I'm pursuing excellence and greatness and maximizing my potential for tomorrow, I never lose sight of how blessed I am and what I have, what's right in front of me. And I think when we're that 40 range, it's like a fork in the road moment that's going to determine who we're going to be for the rest of our lives. And so it's never too late. You're not too young, you're not too old. But it is time to start reevaluating our perspective and how we view life up until this point, because as men, it's very, very hard for us to admit wrong. It's very, very hard for us to admit that we need help. It's very, very hard for us to ask, right? Which also means the counterpart to that is it's also going to be very hard for us to receive. If we don't know how to ask, if we don't know how to submit, it's going to be very challenging for us to receive. And all God wants to do is to give, but he needs us to be willing to receive. So in order to be willing to receive new ideas, new growth, new path, new vision, we have to be willing to let go of the old. So you're in the best place possible right now, and I want you to believe that, and I want you to allow that to take root in your soul and your spirit, that you're not far behind, you're not too late, you are right on time. Because the next 40 years is going to be better than the previous 40. I promise you. But it first starts with you being content with where you are right now, while also wanting and yearning and desiring the abundance and more of what God has for you in tomorrow. So if you can find that middle ground, you're going to be more than okay.